Good morning, everyone. This is pleasure to welcome for this webinar. I welcome Sandeep sir, uh, who has accepted this who has accepted our invitation. Thank you so much, sir, for being there. I don't know, you must be having night schedule for yourself, and today is weekend night, and it's quite tiring for you to be here
स्मृति
and
मैम
giving us.
आपकी वीडियो स्मृति मैम अपना वीडियो ऑन कर लीजिए, वीडियो ऑफ है.
Okay, just a minute. I'm so sorry. Huh. Now I guess everybody can see me and hear me.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So it is my pleasure to welcome everyone. I would like to welcome Sandeep sir, who has taken out his time from his busy schedule. I can understand what kind of schedule you must be having, and it is night for you. Joining us in the odd time for our students. It's great effort, sir. I'm really grateful to you. Karthik, you are just like my student. So I welcome you, and I welcome you with my heart. Like, I know it is bad time for you, and it is very odd time for you to joining this meeting and attending us at night. But this is how we are. I welcome everyone. And of course, this idea came in our mind because students always asked me, ma'am, we did very good, we did very well. We did everything what possible we could do for our interview, but I don't get job. I'm not selected anywhere, ma'am. I'm like, show me your CV. And when I saw their CV, it was not written properly. When I said, what questions you were asked in the interview? They said, ma'am, I answered this. I said, could you answer in other way? So they said, yes, ma'am, I could have. Everything students know, but they don't know how to represent themselves. Every time question was asked to us, ma'am, we are doing this, ma'am, we are doing that, ma'am, we are doing everything to get job. We are not getting it. And some of the students who are not very I'll not say right word is politically wrong, and I will not use, because everybody is intelligent on their own way. So some of the students whom we thought that they are not very bright, maybe they have not scored very good marks, but you will see them achieving heights. Why? Because they know how to represent themselves, they know how to write their CV, they know how to use their presence of mind. So thinking that, like me and Sandeep sir, we were talking one day. He said, students don't know how to write CV. I said, you people don't select students. So I said, let's go and teach students how to represent themselves in the interview, from CV to representation, from everything. Moreover, like, I got concerned about, ma'am, we would like to study abroad. We are applying everywhere. We don't know how to apply. Ma'am, this LOR you have to write me. In the end of semester, students will come and they will say, ma'am, we have written everything, we have done everything, and ma'am, you have to give us certificate for the thing, for the community service. I'm like, why you did not think about it before? They would be like, ma'am, we are ready to do, and they will be dedicatedly working for everything in the end of the year. But this comes from the beginning, and there also situation remains same. We have to know how to represent ourselves. Thinking all this in my mind, thanks to Sandeep sir, he got Karthik with us, who would be talking about all the issues, and Sandeep sir would be talking about all the issues to how to apply abroad, those who have dreamed to go and study abroad, and those who have dreamed to achieve something big. Thank you so much, sir, and welcome you all. I welcome all my participants, those who have come, those who have trusted us, those who have shown interest, and they have come for this webinar with the eagerness. Thank you so much, everyone. Over to Vanshita.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Mr. Sandeep is a managing director in Goldman Sachs. He has over 22 years of software engineering and technology leadership experience working in USA, India, UK, Finland, and Singapore. Prior to joining Goldman, Mr. Sandeep worked at Amazon Web Services (AWS) for over 5.5 years, where he most recently served as Senior Manager responsible for global AWS Marketplace platform. Early in his career, Mr. Sandeep worked for leadership and engineer roles in Synopsys, Microsoft, Nokia, and Hughes Software Systems. Mr. Sandeep is an engineer with computer science degree. Thank you, sir, for gracing the occasion. Over to Garima.
Mr. Karthik Singhal is a software engineer at Facebook USA. He has a keen interest in the field of computer science, specifically in the field of software development, machine learning, distributed systems, and data mining. He is also a machine learning engineer at Amazon, working on sponsored ads search relevance team. Previously, he had worked on dynamic pricing algorithms using reinforcement learning and price elasticity analysis for WW retail pricing. Thank you so much, sir, for gracing the occasion. I request all the participants I request all the participants to post their questions in the chat box, which will be answered in the QA session after the presentation. Now, the panel goes to the speakers.
Karthik, over to you.
Yeah. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you all for joining and thank you for that wonderful introduction. And thank you all the students to join the meeting as well. Today, me and Sandeep would be basically discussing different steps that you can do after college. One of those steps is obviously studying abroad. So we'll be discussing different things about that. Before I start the meeting, just want to say, feel free to, I want this to be an interactive session. So feel free to ask questions and we are comfortable answering questions in Hindi or English. So that's completely fine. Just want to point that out. Before just to briefly introduce so I'm Karthik. I am as I've already introduced, I'm right now working as a software engineer in Meta Platforms, which is formerly known as Facebook. Before that, I was working in Amazon for around 4 years. In total, I've been here in US for around 7 years now. I did my master's in computer science from University of Minnesota, Twin Cities. Just some fun facts about me. I really love adventure sports. I'm actually a licensed skydiver. And also, I love eating pizza. One of my life's goal is to eat pizza on every continent if I have enough money. Sandeep, do you want to briefly introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. Thanks for the very nice introduction. And Nick, as it was called out in my introduction, I'm managing director in Goldman Sachs. Prior to Goldman, I worked in different companies. I have total 23 years of industry experience. I'm a computer science engineer, and I worked with Amazon, AWS, Microsoft, Nokia. I lived in multiple countries. I like to read nonfiction, history kind of books. I do live in Seattle, USA right now with my wife and 16 years old son. And one fun fact, I know I'm talking to DU University students. My wife also did graduate from DU University. She is ex-LSR student. So it's very nice to talk to you all. Looking forward to have this interactive conversation. Karthik, over to you.
Cool. By the way, one more fun fact, Sandeep was my first manager in the industry. So like a lot of the learnings that I have is from Sandeep. One of the things that you will see going forward here is like the importance of building connection. So yeah, just wanted to point that out, how connections can help you in future. Okay, so yeah, before like I even begin, like I guess the one of the first questions that every student, and personally I know that I've been at that place, that every student has faced is basically the preparation, right? Like where to start exactly. If like, let's say if you have made up your mind to study abroad, where to actually start, right? And I guess the first thing that starts with that is identifying your interest. And identifying what universities and colleges and countries that are applicable to your interest, basically. So for example, like, if you are interested in like, automotive industry, like, manufacturing cars, for example, Europe might be like a better place than US. If you're interested in like software engineering, like those kinds of things, like in general, computer science related stuff, US, Canada, they are generally better place than Europe in terms of opportunities, right? So identifying those things early will help you a lot. Like, okay, these are the universities I'm interested in. These are the professors I'm interested in. And you can learn about those by talking to your professors in your college as well. It does not have to be that you need to like, and leverage as much, as many as like, online resources that you can, like, Google search and all those LinkedIn's, like, all those sort of online resources that you have. So yeah, like identifying those things early will really help you. Once you have identified those, I guess the next step is to like identify what tests that you have to give. So one of the things is like, like every, like, let's say if you have decided, okay, I want to go like in so and so university, like every university sort of like accept a particular test depending on the field that you're going to. So for example, if you're going into masters in science, like you'll likely, if you're going to US, you will likely have to give GRE, for example. It's kind of like a basically a like a physics, chemistry, maths test with some English mixed in. Similarly, if you're going for managerial like MBA positions, like, GMAT is the test for that. And depending on the country that you choose, you'll also have to give like, language tests. So like if you're going to US, like, I had to give, for example, TOEFL, which is sort of like an English proficiency test. So basically, I need to prove that I know enough English to, that I can survive in US, basically. Similarly, Europe, if you're choosing like specific countries, like for example, France, Germany, like all those countries will have its own requirements. So yeah, like identifying those things early will really help you. It does not have to be like, there's no as such any timeline, but like, like just to give an example, I started in my third year in college to identify these sort of things, like what are my interests, but there's no specific timeline. You can start early, you can start late, but like as like basically it's sort of the thing like where it's good to start early. Yeah. Yeah, so once you've decided all these, you've given the test, the next step is basically to applying to universities, right? And for that, like, one of the things that you need to be very careful about is timelines. Because all these universities have different timelines, and all of these timelines are available online on their websites. So identifying those timelines is very important, because depending on that, that's how you will prioritize your applications. So let's say if a particular university has a deadline in November, and there's some other university that has deadline in January, you'll obviously want to prioritize your deadline in January, right? So basically, like all those things really help you, will really help you to sort of like manage the timeline better. The way I do it generally is sort of like preparing an Excel sheet, and like, sort of like making sure that I remember all the timelines and everything there. Applying to universities is sort of like a little bit straightforward. Like every university has certain sort of like guidelines. Like, you need to provide like your portfolio, like, your resume, your CV, and like, your letter of recommendations. And the third thing that is equally, and your test scores. And the fourth thing that is really important is your statement of purpose. And I'll discuss that briefly. So statement of purpose is sort of document which showcase why you want to join that university. It's basically a single sort of like a piece of, you can think of like a story that you want to determine that, okay, this is my life chart, and this is the reason, like this sort of leads to this university. And one of the things that I've seen students making mistakes there is they generally do a Google search and just copy paste sort of like the standard patterns that is available on Google search, and just like write that down and make some small changes. That generally does not help, because what university is looking for your passion, right? And and it's very important to communicate your passion from that single document. So it's important to that it's very important that document is very specific to you and to that university, that why you are applying to this particular course in that university. So communicating that is very important in that. One of the things that you can do is you can that I did when I was in college is like taking help from your professors who are working in language department. So I was working with one of my professor, and I used to go to him and ask him okay, what are the errors in this, are there any grammatical errors, how can I make it better, how can I make my information that I'm trying to communicate better. So you can always take advantage of people that you have in your university as much as you can. So after you have applied to university, there's always a certain sort of like a gap of a few months that comes with it. It's sort of like a nervous gap. I know that because I've been there. But like those 2-3 months, you just have to wait for it, and just wait it out and see what other options, what basically wait to hear from universities pretty much. So this is basically sort of like briefly discuss preparations. I'll discuss do's and don'ts after this slide, but once, let's say you have done the preparation, what are the next steps, right? So let's say if you've heard about the any university providing you with offer, they generally send you in sort of either a hard copy of the letter or an email. One of the things that I really want to point out is give yourself a break. It's generally very important to celebrate yourself and be easy on yourself, because you have worked really hard up to this point. And what I've seen is people generally try to as much put as much effort as they can, and it's generally good to sort of give yourself break, take a chill pill, and sort of have basically a fun for a day or two, and then start get into it. It really helps sort of to break that sort of continuous journey, and then sort of start a new journey in that way. So let's say if you get offers, right, what are the next steps? So let's first discuss whether you'll get a single offer or multiple offers. It doesn't matter in general, but let's say if you get multiple offers, how do you decide between universities, right? The way I sort of decided was basically based on professors and the courses that were being offered. So I basically went to which professors are working in the field that I'm interested in, and that goes back to the point that deciding which field you are interested in, sort of deciding that early on. Deciding that which professors they are there, what courses are being offered, what kind of research labs are there. Deciding that will help you actually decide the university as well. And another thing that really helps is to talk to seniors. And generally people are super helpful, as you will see. But if you get one offer from a university and you want to see how how that university is, you can always reach out to an existing senior in that university and just ask them questions like, hey, how is this university? I'm sort of like thinking of applying it here, and I've been selected here, and I wanted to get more data points, basically. Generally, seniors are very receptive. They in helping any of the incoming students. Yeah. Yeah, the next step after that is basically finalizing the university. So once you have finalized the university, like the next step is immigration, like because each and every country has different immigration. So I won't go very deep into that. But generally, like university will guide you through the immigration process. Like they will help you. They generally provide you with some sort of like a counsel department for incoming students. And they will provide you with information regarding which visas to apply and how to apply, and all those sort of things. So I won't go very deep into that because it differs from university to university and then country to country. The one thing that I do want to point out is being proactive in communication. So if you have questions, ask them, ask to the council, ask to the seniors, ask to people around you, like who are sort of like applying with you. Asking questions really helps. So just wanted to point out that. And another thing that is really helpful and that personally really helped me was finding online groups. So each and every university generally has sort of like a group, a social group for incoming students. It can be either a Facebook group, it can be like WhatsApp group, it can be like anything. That is something that you will need to find out. But generally, they will always have some sort of like a social group, basically. And it's really helpful to find those groups, because generally the informations around very helpful information are shared there from your immediate seniors. So they will share information like regarding apartments, regarding courses, and you can always ask questions there as well. And they are generally very easily searchable. So you can search it over Facebook, and you'll you will generally be able to find those groups pretty easily. So join those groups once you have finalized the university, and ask questions there, ask questions about courses, ask questions about professors, ask questions about university as well. Even it really helps. One last thing that I do want to point out is generally, like, people think applying and getting into the university is sort of like the end stop. It's generally not the end stop. There's always one step after it, and that is actually getting into the university and trying to make connections. And that's where I was pointing to Sandeep, that I had this sort of like connection with Sandeep when I joined industry. Building these connections really helps in general in your life in future. So one of the ways to start early on building these connections is making connections with professors in the university. So if you have finalized the university, it's like, if there is one professor or one or two professors that you're really interested in working with, it always helps to, reach out to them, drop an email. Don't trouble them too much, but drop an email and see, just mention that you are interested in working with them. Just showcase your intentions to work with them. And it sometimes really helps you in start building your portfolio about an overall portfolio about projects, working with professors, working with industry. That will eventually help you to get your first job. One of the things that I actually wanted to sort of discuss is also some of the do's and don'ts of these are just my personal do's and don'ts. It does not have to be specific, and obviously every person will have sort of different do's and don'ts, but these are just my personal observation. One of the things that I do want to point out is building an overall profile. As I mentioned, while you are in your college right now, doing internships, working on projects, collaborating with your professors, that really helps. It helps to build your profile. It helps to decide help you to make you sort of decide which things you are interested in, which things you are not interested in. All these sort of overall builds your profile and sort of makes you a more confident person. Start early on that in your college. It does not have to be like a full-fledged internship. You can work with your professors, or you can work on a freelancing. It can be a lot of different ways to do that. One of the things that I do want to discuss is like, don't obsess over test scores. It's good to have good test scores, but building this portfolio is equally important as getting good test scores. So like, having a good balance of your studies as well as your test scores, plus your letter of recommendations, plus your statement of purpose, all these things combined make a solid packet for applying to any university. And like, as I mentioned, like, not missing out on important deadlines. Like, that's very crucial. If you're missing on important deadlines, that generally sort of like leads to like, missing out on universities that you might have been interested in. And that brings me to a point, like applying to a multiple university set. Generally the way I work is I keep a good mix of safe and dream universities. So they were like some dream universities that I want to be in, but they are like, I know that they are hard to get to. And similarly, there were like some universities that are safe, that you know that you might be able to get to pretty easily based on online resources. So keeping that a good mix of like, applying